So the other day, I was doom scrolling TikTok, like I usually do, and kept getting movie clips for The Devil Wears Prada. After mindlessly watching at least half an hour of clips, and then finding out the account had no part 2, I decided to break the cycle of horrible TikTok brain rot and actually watch the film. Halfway through watching though, I had a weird thought. Is this not the exact same plot of High School Musical 2? Now, I know what you're thinking. The Devil Wears Prada is about a girl who got her first job in New York, and High School Musical 2 is about a bunch of high schoolers working at a country club over summer. How are these the same in any way? Well, I don't mean the exact same, but they do convey similar themes, meanings, and have similar plot beats. They also came out in the same year, but most interestingly, after reading some reviews, I found that the way that people reacted to these films is the same, and shows the differences between society in 2006 and society in 2026. Now, let's get back to the year of 2006, where one of the best films ever, High School Musical 2, came out, and also The Devil Wears Prada, I guess. Let's go over both the plots. I will be going into full spoilers, but you did have 10 years, so... Also, I will not be discussing The Devil Wears Prada 2 in this video, simply because I cannot be bothered to go watch it. In 2006, The Devil Wears Prada, Andy is an inspiring journalist fresh out of uni. She lands a job as the assistant to Miranda Priestley. Andy puts up with Miranda's bizarre and humiliating treatment in hopes of getting a job as a reporter or a writer somewhere else. At first, Andy fumbles with her job and fits in poorly with her other overworked colleagues, especially Emily. But after Andy has a talk with Runway's art director, Nigel, who gives her a whole new perspective on Miranda, her work, and the fashion industry in general. Andy decides to change and, with Nigel's help, gradually learns her responsibilities and begins to dress more stylishly. And slowly, Andy begins to sacrifice her personal life to her career. When Emily falls ill, Miranda commands Andy to accompany the two of them to a charity benefit, which is a fantastic opportunity for her career, but makes her miss her boyfriend's birthday party. One evening, Miranda informs her that she will be coming with her to Paris instead of Emily. Andy hesitates, but Miranda tells her that declining will send the message that she's not committed to her job or any future job at any publication. Faced with this threat, Andy accepts, and the next day, Andy has to be the bearer of bad news to Emily, who, meanwhile, is hurrying back to the office after getting increasingly stressed working for Miranda. Just as Andy is about to tell her, Emily is hit by a taxi. After confronting Emily about Paris, she then goes to her friend Lily's art gallery, where she accepts a kiss on the cheek from Christian. Lily catches this and berates Andy to then confront her boyfriend about the fact that she is going to Paris. He realizes they no longer have anything in common and they break up. However, in Paris, Andy comes to realize that although her career is going well, it involves screwing over people and being a person she does not want to be. So Andy ends up walking away. When receiving a call from Miranda, she throws her phone into a fountain, and she meets her boyfriend for breakfast in New York to apologize to him. The message of the film is clear. The toxic workplace is contagious, and you have to choose to be the person you want to be by stepping away from that environment. High School Musical, on the other hand, starts with the Wildcats talking about their summer goals and wanting summer jobs to save up for college. So when Troy gets a call from Mr. Fulton, the manager of Lava Springs Country Club, offering him a job for the summer, with a little persuasion, he gets Fulton to allow all his Wildcats to join him. However, it is revealed that Sharpay arranged for Troy's hire. Enraged, she confronts Fulton about the Wildcats, and he tells her that their parents signed off on it. Sharpay, however, hears none of this and demands that Fulton get rid of them, demanding that he try and make them want to quit. The next day, Chad and Troy are requested as caddies for the Evans family. Mr. Evans is University of Albuquerque alumni, where both Chad and Troy hope to attend. At Sharpay's suggestion, Troy is excused from the rest of his shift to join the Evans for a dinner. Troy slips off to join Gabriella, but is very late for the date they had planned. The next morning, Troy is told by Fulton that he's been promoted to a $500 a week job and a locker full of fantastic designer clothes, including Italian golf shoes. Taylor worries that Troy is falling right into Sharpay's hands, and Gabriella and Chad have more faith that Troy is stronger than that. When Troy snubs Chad, who is serving him lunch, to the Evans family and a bunch of U of A basketball players, Chad begins to agree with Taylor. Afterwards, Gabriella sees Troy playing basketball alone. He promises to spend some time with her after his game with the Red Hawk, and Gabriella tells him that promise is a big word, reminding him that there's a staff baseball game after work, which he also promised to play in. The Wildcats walk out eager to join Troy and the Redhawks, but Troy refuses, saying it's a closed practice. The next morning, Troy walks into work and everyone makes comments about him failing on the baseball game, but him and Chad argue. Later that day, Ryan and Sharpay have an argument in which he says he doesn't care about losing the Star Dazzle award. Sharpay, annoyed by Ryan's betrayal, tells Fulton that all employees need to work on the night of the show, which causes Gabriella to go confront Sharpay. Troy runs up to Gabriella, having heard most of their conversation. Gabriella tells him that he's changing. She quits and breaks up with Troy. The next day at work, all the Wildcats ignore Troy. He goes outside and reflects on everything he's done and how he's been acting, telling himself he's going to turn it all around. He tells Sharpay he's not doing the show and asks Fulton for his kitchen job back. Kelsey tells the Wildcats what Troy has done, who forgive him and end up singing the talent show with Gabriella and the rest of the Wildcats. I'm sure with these summaries you can start to see some of the similarities in the plot, specifically around losing yourself in a job that promises opportunities for the future and designer clothes, but ends up changing you as a person, meaning you start flaking out on dates and hanging out with friends less, becoming a more ruthless and career-orientated person, ignoring the harm it does to you, your friends, or your co-workers. And then, after a breakup and a moment of self-reflection, you decide to leave the toxic environment and focus on becoming the person you want to be. Both films are clearly pushing for a healthier work-life balance, showing the importance of spending quality time with friends or romantic partners, but also showing that a career or a chance to get into college isn't everything. The thing that matters more is choosing to be the person you want to be, and that success isn't always defined by being the most ruthless or taking every opportunity, because sometimes these opportunities that seem golden put you in a situation where you have to sacrifice on your morals and personal identity, just at the chance to one day in the distant future you might be successful. The interesting thing about both Troy and Andy as well is that they don't even want this opportunity in the beginning. Andy's passion in life is journalism. She only takes up the role to make her CV look better, and there's a whole third movie about how Troy doesn't want to go to U of A. But both these characters get wrapped up in a dream of success and glamour that they are shown, which means that they let their original dreams go on the back burner as they focus all their time into their new jobs. Back in my day, the meanings behind the film seem to be understood by general audiences, as shown by reviews, or at least the Devil Wears Prada reviews, as I struggled to find High School Musical 2 reviews, as it is a direct-to-DVD Disney sequel. But as shown by Meat Hook's cinema review, the superficial, toxic world of high fashion will also resonate with anyone who has ever been a part of any kind of unhealthy, dysfunctional workplace. Toxicity is contagious and spreads quickly if you don't self-reflect and make a conscious decision to be better than that. However, there seems to be a shift recently in how these films are perceived, with a lot of people online saying things such as, "The Devil Wears Prada," "Andrea's friends and boyfriends suck," and "Troy's friends in High School Musical were the fakest." And of course, I've seen a lot of defense for the antagonists of these films. This thinking about Andy's friends sucking I can trace back to a BuzzFeed article from 2016, claiming that the film should have ended with Andy becoming a badass boss bitch of her own. And the second Andy starts progressing in her career and evolving as a person, they just get pissy. It also claims that the boyfriend sulks like a tiny man baby because Andy had to miss his birthday party because of her important job that is vital to her future career. For the sake of this video, I'm gonna take this BuzzFeed article seriously and pretend that it wasn't written by an overworked employee who is also working overtime for the promise of future success. But first of all, it is absolutely crazy to be upset at the boyfriend because he is sad that his girlfriend misses his birthday. That is a completely normal thing to be upset over, especially because it's a last minute change. I understand that it's an important work event, but it is completely reasonable for the boyfriend to be in a bad mood about this. In fact, there are plenty of films where the boyfriend is portrayed as the bad guy for missing a birthday party or important event because of his work. This pattern can also be seen with High School Musical, as another BuzzFeed article suggests that Troy's friends are the villains for getting mad at him when all he's trying to do is work towards his future. Again, forgetting that his friends aren't upset because he's getting an opportunity. They're upset because he's being a bad friend and switching up on his day ones as soon as he gets a little bit of success. Along with this, his friends and Gabriella are more than within their rights to be upset that Troy is flaking on plans and being late to dates. Important work events and working towards your future are of course valid reasons to miss plans. But your friends and partners are allowed to be upset when you flaked on the plans, especially when they're important plans or things you promised you would be at. These are not just BuzzFeed articles, by the way. I see these ideas puppeted around the internet all the time. It is completely normal to be annoyed at a friend or romantic partner for not prioritizing you and not making time for you. It is also justified to break up with a romantic partner if they are not prioritizing you and not giving you enough time, no matter what BuzzFeed says. There also seems to be a lot of people making excuses for the antagonists of the film. Miranda and Sharpay serve very similar roles in their respective films. Obviously, they both are super fashionable divas who provide the protagonists with everything they want, with the caveat that they have to give up their social lives and do things they don't want to do to obtain this supposedly golden opportunity. When it comes to Miranda, I see a lot of people apologizing for her way of running the office, saying stuff like it's a fast-paced, important job, so of course she has to make Andy work twice as hard. But it is not normal or healthy to call your employees at 8 p.m. at night, to threaten your employees with being fired after every tiny mistake, and it is not a positive working environment when the office is full of body shaming and promoting EDs. I mean, Emily starves herself, comes into work ill, and gets hit by a car, all in her effort to keep up with Miranda's demands. And how does she get rewarded? By being replaced almost immediately. Miranda treats her employees as replaceable minions, who should be able to call upon at any point, for any purpose, and be disposed of at her whim. She is not a good person, boss, or justified in her actions in any sense of the word. Yes, she is sympathetic, but that does not mean that her actions are justified. For the supposed opportunity that Andy is being offered, it is not worth the abuse that is inflicted on her by Miranda. Additionally, many people defend Sharpay, saying she was just trying to get Troy that scholarship and win the Star Dazzle Award. But no, she wasn't. She was actively trying to break Troy and Gabriella up to a point where she crosses several boundaries and is incredibly creepy towards Troy, forcing him into many things he does not want to do, touching him inappropriately, and making the work environment incredibly toxic in an attempt to make her classmates quit. Both antagonists are incredibly selfish and toxic to their employees, to the point that it causes the people working for them to have breakdowns. To be clear, neither Miranda nor Sharpay care about the futures or happiness of Troy and Andy, beyond what it can do for them. They are purely opportunistic and self-serving. So what has changed in the outlook towards these films? Well, the unemployment rate. It's not a secret that it's so much harder to get a job nowadays compared to 2006. With the rise of AI, degrees becoming basically worthless, and entry-level roles requiring 2 years worth of experience. Especially as a younger person, finding a job that pays enough to live can feel impossible. In fact, unemployment was low in 2006, showing how even though Andy and Troy worry about jobs, they do manage to get them pretty quickly and don't have to spend hours at a computer reading AI rejection emails. The way we look at the job market as a society has fundamentally changed since the market crash of 2008 and COVID. I don't think it's a mistake that in 2006, before the market crashed, there were many fields about chasing your passions and finding that perfect job that fits your morals. But as unemployment grows, that dream of finding the ideal job fades, instead replaced by the dream of finding any job at all. These opinions about the friends sucking and being unsupported of the main characters' futures started around 2010 and resurfaced again in 2020. One of the writers of The Devil Wears Prada, I apologize for the pronunciation, Aline Brosh McKenna, actually addressed this viewpoint, stating that what I think is interesting is that the world has changed in the last 12 years. So I feel like the audiences back then understood Miranda's the devil. I personally think that in the last couple years, the rise of hustle culture and the idea that getting money and power is the most important thing has changed people's perspective on the job market. The idea that going against your passions, stepping over people, and having no time for a social life is worth it for the chance to be successful and get money. Don't get me wrong, this idea is incredibly attractive, and these movies show how these characters are drawn to the extravagant life, with designer clothes and fancy dinners and rooms full of successful, rich people. This dream life is what originally pulls the characters into these toxic environments, as they get sold on the idea of riches and success. Many people nowadays are sold on the same dream. Through social media, people flexing their designer clothes and cars and hustle culture, claiming that every moment you're not working, not making money, is wasted. A lot of people get sold on this deal with the devil before even entering the world of work, which leaves them vulnerable to these toxic work environments where grinding 24/7 and giving up your external passions is expected. But just because it's harder to get a job nowadays, does that mean that we should settle for any job, no matter what you have to sacrifice, just because it gives us a chance to maybe be successful? Should grinding 24/7 to achieve a living wage be normal? Should we have to give up all the time spent on our passions, partners, and friends for a good opportunity? Obviously, work is important and requires some level of sacrifice. But what these films show us is that there are some parts of ourselves which we shouldn't sacrifice. No matter what dream is sold to us, you still need to have fun. You need to make time for the important things and people in your life. Your relationships and friendships matter just as much as a career. And you need to make time for people who you love. But most importantly, even if jobs are harder to get now, you should never settle. A job should align and enhance you as a person, not make it so you look in the mirror and don't recognize your face. And a boss should care and uplift you, and not be the devil dressed in Prada.